A secure border saves lives, and that's what President Trump has done. We were saving lives by the thousands simply because we have a secure border. We got more to do. Look, we were arrested about 3 times more than Biden did in 1 month. I already talked about that. In 1 month, we compare his month to our month, we're arresting 3 times more than Joe Biden did. That's not enough. When you do 10 times more, because he wasn't doing squat. So the media's been all over me, well, are you happy with the numbers? I'm happy. I'm not satisfied. We're not going to rest. I'm not going to sleep well at night until every public safety threat, illegal aliens, eradicated from this country. That's when we'll relax, and that's when we'll take action.
The incentives are a real issue, and I think the biggest incentive, and I'll go to you, what about birthright citizenship? I mean, you just get across the border, you get here, and then you're born here, you're a citizen. Is that something that needs to change?
Well, I'll say this is an enticement. It's a magnet for more illegal immigration. For example, under President Obama, a lot of families came across, a lot of single females came across, and Jay Johnson was the secretary at the time. And I respect Jay Johnson. Didn't agree with him all the time, but his door was always open. He heard me out, right? So despite all the hate on Trump, President Obama approved a family operation where these family groups who've been ordered removed because they lost their case. And 90% of people who claim asylum at the border will end up with order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. They're coming here for a better life. I get that. But they're not escaping fear and persecution from their home government because of the race, religion, and political affiliation. So make a fraudulent asylum claim. So we had hundreds of family units that were ordered removed by the judge. The Obama administration approved us to go look for these people and deport them. We went looking for them. 44% of these family units, the mothers already had a U.S. citizen child or was pregnant with a U.S. citizen child. Despite all the hate that's out there and people attacking this, that is a driver for illegal immigration because they say illegal aliens don't take social benefits. Well, I argue with that. I've been doing this a long time to do. But having a U.S. citizen increases the use of social services, and it's a driver of illegal immigration. Birthright citizenship. Russia and China, the 2 biggest countries, where they come here on a visa, visitor visa, tourist visa, and they're pregnant. They have a U.S. citizen child while they're here. They're not here for be a tourist or a visitor. They're here to have a child and become a U.S. citizen. So I think the Supreme Court finally needs to answer that question. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read. I don't think it's clear that illegal alien, as a child in this country is automatically a U.S. citizen. When they keep going back to the Wong case. The Wong was actually here under immigration control. They were here legally. They weren't citizens, but they're here legally. They were here under the control of the government. So we'll see what the Supreme Court says. I hope the Supreme Court will decide the right way. But I have the same fear as you have. But it's a driver of illegal immigration. And here's what I need people to understand. I know I've got some haters out there, and I love that. Because I'm not running a popularity contest. When people are saying this is just innocent illegal immigration, there is no such thing. Because if you wore my shoes for 34 years, there's a whole ugly underbelly of illegal immigration. 31% of women that make their journey get sexually assaulted. Well, I'm talking to you right now. Women are being sexually assaulted as part of their fee to cross the border. Luckily, because of President Trump and board down 96%, less of that's happening. But illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. I've done it for a long time. And it's a right way and wrong way to enter the greatest country on earth. We got millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, doing their background investigation, paying the fees. They're sitting in the back seat. While millions of people in the Biden administration cheated the system. They can claim they're asylum seekers all they want. Okay, they're seeking asylum. But here's what you need to understand. Nearly 90% of everybody who claims asylum at our southern border end up with an order removal, which is why we need to do a massive deportation operation. Everybody says, well, what a racist thing to say. No. When you have a massive illegal alien crisis on our southern border by the millions, and we know 90% don't qualify for asylum, people on the left can say they have a right to claim asylum. They have a right to see a judge. They have a right to due process. And we made that happen. But due process doesn't mean squat if the final decision of the courts isn't carried out and executed. That's what due process is. So it says 90% of millions of people came across the border to be order removed. Those orders have to be executed. If they're not executed, then what the hell are we doing? Just shut down immigration court doesn't mean anything anymore. Take the border off the border. We need to send a message to the whole world. There's a right way and wrong way to come to this country. There's a legal way to do it. If you want to be part of the greatest nation on earth, breaking our law shouldn't be the first thing you do.
But what do you do with these states and these governors like Gavin Newsom and these leaders? And you've said you talk about criminal prosecutions, Czar. What do we do to rein in these individuals who think that the rule of law does not apply to them?
Well, luckily, we got Pam Bondi as the Attorney General who's going to sue these people. And I've been clear when it comes to sanctuary. They say, well, we're a welcoming community. We're a sanctuary city. And their justification is we want victims and witnesses of crime, if they're illegal aliens, victims and witnesses of crime to feel comfortable coming to law enforcement and not think they'll be turned over to ICE because we're not working with ICE. Okay, that's bullshit, first of all. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy in the neighborhood either, right? So what ICE strictly want, we want access to the jail where they chose to lock somebody up because of a public safety threat. That's the person we want to talk to. We don't want to talk to the victim witness at all. Matter of fact, if we did talk to the victim, it might end up with a visa if they're a victim of crime. But we want to talk to the bad guy. And I can't believe there's any elected official, whether it's a governor, a mayor, or a city council person, like what's happening down in Fort Myers area, that doesn't want public safety threats removed from their community. Their number one responsibility is protection of the community. So why would any elected official not want public safety threats removed from their community? But that's what ICE is doing. As far as sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, you're not going to stop us. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We'll double the manforce there. But here's the issue. Sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the community and more collateral arrests. Now, the media's all over right now. Well, a big part of these criminal arrests are actually non-criminals. Yes, they are. Where do these collateral arrests happen? Sanctuary cities. Why? Because you forced us in the community to find a bad guy. So when we find the bad guy, he's probably with others. Others that are in the country illegally, but maybe not a criminal alien. They're coming too. We're going to force immigration law. Unlike the last administration under Mayorkas and Biden, they told ICE agents, immigration officers, you cannot arrest an illegal alien for simply being here illegally. Here's the executive branch rewriting statute. They told ICE officers you can't enforce the law. Unless they convicted of a serious crime, you can't arrest them. Well, that garbage is over with. If you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. Now, we're going to prioritize public safety threats first. And that's what we're doing. But it's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's against the law. It's not okay to cross the border illegally. It's a crime. And we'll deal with it in prioritized fashion, which is exactly what we're doing. But here, the sanctuaries here, here's the problem. We just want access to get bad guy in jail. One agent can apprehend a bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, where everybody's safe. The officer's safe, the community's safe, and the alien's safe. But when you force us in the community, it puts officers at great risk. Now they have to arrest a criminal alien on his turf, who has access to who knows what weapons. It puts the community at risk of further crime. Releasing a public safety threat back in the public is just dumb. Give us the guy in the jail. And I would say any elected politician, you go to the immigrant community, because like immigrant community, even those who are here illegally, despite them being here illegally, the vast majority are family people. They want to raise a family, and they're God-fearing people, and they don't want pedophiles in their neighborhood either. They don't want someone arrested for DUI 10 times in their neighborhood either. Go to the immigrant community and ask one question. Would you rather have ICE in the jail or your community? What do you think they're going to say? The jail. Because they don't want public safety threats running around their community either. And where do most TDA and MS-13, who they victimize? The immigrant community. So I'm sick of the sanctuary city politicians saying we're protecting the immigrant community. No, you're not. When you say public safety threat, you're putting the immigrant community at greater risk of crime. You're putting the victim and witness that you're saying you're protecting at greater risk of retribution. Let ICE agents in a taxpayer-funded jail to take the bad guy not only out of the community, but out of the country and make this country safer. Every criminal alien that we remove from this country makes this country safer. Every single one. We're going to do it one at a time, and we're going to make this country safer at the end of this 4 years, guaranteed. The message you want to send to the whole world is, enter this country illegally, which is a crime. Just don't commit another crime, you're good to go. You're never going to solve the border crisis. You're never going to fix it. That's why we have to do what President Trump is doing. Congress can fix the system if they want. I don't have a lot of faith they're going to, but we need to send a message to the whole world. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. And let me tell you why. Under Joe Biden, on an average day under Joe Biden, 70%, 70% of Border Patrol agents are pulled off the line to take care of this humanitarian crisis, right? 11,000 a day. And they're actually changing diapers, making sandwiches, making baby formula, taking people to hospitals, dealing with humanitarian crisis. When you take 70% of agents off the line, in some sectors in the last couple of years, they pulled every single uniform off patrol because they have overcrowding. And the only thing the Biden administration was concerned about, we can't have overcrowding because the cameras catch that. We can't claim the border secure. We got overcrowding these facilities. So their number one priority was process quickly, release quickly, because there's no overcrowding, there's nothing to see. But when you overwhelm the border to where 70 to 100% of agents pulled off the line, what happened? Enough fentanyl came across the border to kill 250,000 people.
So,
sex trafficking was up 600%. The death of aliens crossing the border were at a record high. 4,000 people died crossing the border. Basically because the Border Patrol wasn't there to pull them out of the river or save them in the desert. Record number of Americans died, a record number of illegal aliens died, sex trafficking up 600%. No one suspected terrorists, over 400 people on the terrorist watch list in 4 years on the southern border. President Trump had 14 in 4 years. So for those that want to say it's just simple illegal immigration, innocent, no, it's not. But when you overwhelm the system, all these other bad things happen. So securing the border, which we're doing right now at record levels, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, sex trafficking would decrease, deaths of illegal aliens would decrease, the cartels are going to go bankrupt. This is the right thing to do. Secure borders saves lives, and no one can prove anything different. The data speaks for itself. A secure border saves American lives, it saves aliens' lives. That's a fact. Well, let me give you one real-life example of what happens every day across this country. And this is a true story. I put a new roof on my house, had a storm damage. I had to call 6 different companies before I got a company that guaranteed me a legal workforce. Well, father and son showed up, and he was hoping I just need a roof repair and not do a whole roof because the father and son didn't have the ability to do that. So talking to him, I said, no, I need a whole roof replacement. So I talked to him, I said, well, how long have you been in roof business? Here's what he shared with me. He employed 20 U.S. citizens to get on the roof, pay him $20-25 an hour. But he couldn't win a contract. He went bankrupt because he couldn't win a contract. These other companies that illegal aliens are paying $7 an hour to get on the roof. So he couldn't compete. So what happened? He laid off 20 U.S. citizen employees. That happens across this country every day. No one hires an illegal alien, I truly believe, out of the goodness of their heart. They hire them because they work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition. So this is about American business. This is about making sure U.S. citizens stay employed. This is about keeping wages at a certain level, not decreasing wages. It's the right thing to do. And there is a way, as Chad said, to bring people in legally. Congress needs to address that. If we need a workforce to do that type of work, there's a process to go through. It needs to be improved. I agree with it. But illegal immigration is not the answer. Again, it's not a victimless crime. If you've seen what I've seen in my career, you'd understand. You might not like me, but you understand me. I've talked to girls as young as 9 years old. They were raped multiple times. And when you get on your knees, you talk to a 9-year-old girl who had everything innocent and pure stolen from her, ripped from her, who has lost faith in all humanity. That happens on the border all the time. I stood in back of a tractor trailer, 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old little boy. They all baked to death. Wear my shoes to see the tragedies I've seen at the border. Secure borders, I'll say it again, secure borders saves lives. Illegal immigration is not the answer. Congress needs to do some fixes, but I agree with Governor DeSantis. The rule of law is what this country is about. And if we keep pushing the rule of law, this country is even going to be greater than it is now. We got to stand by the rule of law. We got great founders of this country. We need to stand by the principle of what this country is all about. People who come to this country, we're the most welcoming country in the entire world. We bring more refugees and visitors to this country through the legal process than any other country in the world. Matter of fact, almost more than all countries combined. We're the most giving country in the world. And we won't change that. But we got to have a rule of law because people are dying. Bottom line. That's why I fight as hard as I fight. First of all, I got a hard job. You probably don't know this, but I'm 30. Look, I'm honored to be on the stage with Secretary of Welfare and Governor DeSantis, who's one badass governor. I love him. They both need a haircut.
We have hair.
Again, it all goes back to the job, Chad. Look, here's what I want. I said it earlier. I've seen a lot of tragedies in my lifetime who changed me. It made the man I am today. Again, I started in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent. I was a special agent. I've done numerous investigations. I've seen so much tragedy, so much deaths, so much terrible things in my life that I fight hard today because I know every day that we secure that border, we're saving lives. Women aren't being raped. Children aren't drowning in the river. And as we remove these public safety threats like TDA, who raped and murdered young women, set a woman on fire in a subway, that's why I fight so hard. I will start smiling on TV when we remove every illegal alien public safety threat, every gang member, every national security threat from this country. They have no right to be here, and they need to go. If they don't want to go on their own, then we're going to hunt them down, and we're going to deport them. And I do that with no apology. That's what we're going to do. And if I accomplish that, I can retire for the third time. I got the greatest wife in the world. Best thing ever happened to me. I'm sure you're in the same spot as I am, who's been through hell. I got death threats. You see a lot of security detail around me because I got more death threats than you can imagine. You know what? But I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going away. Bring it. Because I'm going to do my job. And President Trump is going to do his job. What I ask you to do, when I leave today, here's what I want you to do. You see an ICE agent. You see a Border Patrol agent. You see a Florida State Trooper. You see a cop. Walk up to them and just thank them. Because these men and women are putting it on the line every day. While you're sleeping in your bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a Border Patrol agent standing post on a dirt trail someplace who's going to take something on. A sentry goes off. Is it just an illegal alien looking for a better life? Or is it a heavily armed drug smuggler? They don't know, but they're going to take it on. I know because I did that job. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol. God bless the men and women of ICE. And God bless the men and women who carry a badge and strap a gun to their hip every day to keep us all safe. That's what you need to do.